Good evening, guys. I just want to share a quick event that just happened, which was Air China flight, a Boeing 777-300ER was flying from Beijing to Los Angeles, and when it's flying over Russian airspace, a fire alarm in the cargo hold was triggered, and the aircraft made an emergency descent and landed at the Russian airport, and all 188 passengers evacuated the plane, and no one was injured, and the airline is safe. So, from this event, I would say the pilot handled the event very, very well, which they followed all the checklist and managed to land the aircraft, taxi to the ramp, and evacuate the passenger. No one's injured. So that's a pretty good ending of this kind of event that we don't want to see. However, I've read and I've heard that is it really necessary to deploy the emergency slides during this situation, especially when the aircraft has taxied to the ramp with engine shut down and there's no visible flames and fire both inside and outside of the aircraft? So, it's telling on the 777 emergency procedures that if the fire alarm keep alarming during that situation, the pilot should execute an emergency evacuation, whether or not it's a false alarm or not. Because even though there was no visible flames of fire at that time, the fire may become very severely in a matter of seconds. So it is pilot's responsibility to make sure that all 188 people behind him are safe, and the evacuation down here was handled very well, especially no one was injured during this evacuation. So there was always debating on whether evacuated passengers were not, because that may cause secondary injury or causing panics and stuff, especially we compared this event to the previous event of a Singapore Airlines 777 had an engine fire and returned to Singapore, but the captain let the passengers stay on the airplane and while the firefighter was extinguished the fire outside the aircraft. So the debating of where's the boundary of deploying an emergency slides were not during these circumstances. I would say the pilots on the Air China flight did a wonderful job. They followed procedures and make saving passengers' lives as their first priority, and taking the responsibility of being the captains and co-pilots in the cockpit, being cool and collected, and successfully handled this event. So I would say it's always right when you're something unsure about an emergency to deploy the emergency slides, that you want to make your passengers safe. In the meantime, I think maybe we can more clearly identify where's the boundary of deploying an emergency slides or not, because if there's an emergency slides deployment, well, there's not that serious emergency, then we cause a secondary injury to the passenger. That's also the thing that we do not want to see. So first of all, the pilots of this aircraft handled this event really well, and there's no doubt, no question, he deployed the emergency slides. But on the other hand, maybe we should really look into where's the boundary of deploying emergency slides, just to make this procedure more appropriate to these kind of events. So that's all the things I want to share with you guys. If you like my video, click the subscription button below, and if you have an opinion of that, comments below. I would like to read all of this, and see you next time. Flight safe.